Good afternoon. My name's Kevin Graham and he is Brian Degnan, and welcome to your Monday version of a Celtic State of Mind. Sorry I'm slightly late. My fault. Technical difficulties. That's all I'm going to say about that. None of David Brian. He was in there waiting on me. Brian, first things first, do you hear that sound? There's a wee
No,
sound.
was that?
There's a wee sound. You can actually hear it going and going and going and going. Like a wee clicking sound. It's all the female viewers clicking off because Azim's not here.
Is that what it is? To be fair, we're poor substitutes for the big fella, so I don't blame
I
them.
know, and like me and you are like vertically challenged as well. After like, so I mean, if me and you
Challenged
sat,
in a lot of ways, Kev, to go and challenge in a lot of ways. Just vertically
if me and you sat on each other's shoulders, we wouldn't actually reach Azim's head by the
big
looks
long
of
coat
things,
like
eh?
cartoons.
So, aye, how are you getting on, Brian, on this Monday?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. Glad to be here. Not usually on a Monday, so this is a nice change of pace.
I know, eh? We used to be on a Monday quite often together.
That's right. And then Wednesday was the day.
Wednesday was the day, eh? Then
You, me, and Colin.
I was Colin. I haven't seen Colin for a wee while. Hope he's doing well. First things first. Acsom received some devastating news yesterday. The passing of Jim Crockwell. Now, all yous that have been in our live events would have bumped into Jim. Jim was very much in the background of these live events. Um, helping out JP, helping out with our charity endeavours and that. And he done so much behind the scenes that you'd probably be embarrassed, even us bringing up his name on a live broadcast. It's unfortunate the Celtic world has lost a good man over the weekend there, eh? And it was a bit of a shock, and our thoughts and our prayers go with all his family. Um, the next events are going to be, there is going to be a big, massive gym-shaped hole in the events because he was so much a part of it. So my thoughts and my prayers go out to his family and his loved ones at this precise moment in time. I'm sure JP will have his own wee say about it when he's back tomorrow, but God bless Jim. And you were taking too soon, mate.
Yeah, and I think I never had the pleasure of meeting Jim, but I think you can always judge a person by how other people always speak about them. And everybody is being glowing about him, talking about him, and I think that says, you know, a great deal about the man. Is the fact that how everybody else speaks about them. I think that's great. So, yeah, God bless him and his family.
He was kind of like the guy, Brian, when you would actually walk into a room with him, he was like an uncle, one of these old Glasgow uncles that were always there, and he always had a laugh and a joke. He always took the mick. You could take the mick out of him, and he would he would give you a bit of banter. But I have realised that I says JP and no PGA, but I was kind of a wee bit trying to get an eulogy out there, and I just got a bit confused. So sorry about that. I'm sure PJ will have his own thoughts about it. Aye, it was like this wee Glasgow uncle. He always had a story and always had a bit of patter. He didn't suffer fools gladly, especially if you were at the live events trying to get too many bits of merch signed. Any one time he didn't like that, and he didn't like me saying about he always had a great suit. He always wore a great suit. And the last time I spoke to him, he was telling me a story, and it was about the 1950s. And I says to him, "Did you still have that suit on, Jim?" And I thought he was going to scalp me. Actually, I really did think I thought he was going to scalp me, but then he just called me a few words, and we moved on. Aye, so God bless Jim, and thank you his friends and family at this precise moment in time. I suppose we need to talk about football. We'll have a
So,
wee look at the international football tonight. Over the weekend, Liam Scales, what a tackle on the Harry Kane. I didn't care that he got sent off after it. That tackle is going to be shown for years and years to come.
yeah, it was absolutely tremendous. The big man took no prisoners. And listen, it was a horrible result, and it was sad to see the big fella get sent off. But
it was a stupid first booking, though.
Yeah.
His first booking was stupid.
Aye. But no, I just it's always good to see, Celtic players, especially Scottish and Irish ones, on the national stage. So which is a shame about the result, but as you say, it's going to be one of the ones like the Simunovic tackle on Kenny Miller. It's just going to be gift and replayed forever. So there's a certain kind of a beautiful about
that. There is, as I say, his first booking was stupid, really. His second one, it was a booking. The Irish sort of fell apart after they got sent off and they lost the goal and the 3 goals in 6 minutes. Sort of, I don't know if it put an unfair reflection on the result because they were a wee bit hanging on there, but that's what happens when you're playing a team of quality England, and that's you can't deny that England have actually got a decent international side, and they will do that to most teams, truthfully.
And as I say, it's I love the work in England, so a lot of the guys I know are England fans, and they always like to poke fun at Scotland for losing. But I always say failure's relative, because if you've got the best league in the world, the richest league, 70 million people to pick for, every opportunity to win, and you still keep failing, that's just as bad as no qualifying for tournaments. So I think, they're very, very good, but they offer and underachieve, and hopefully Scotland tonight will get a result and get a bit of quality, and then look to qualifying, get playing these games against the bigger sides again.
Hopefully, an interesting game tonight for Scotland against Poland to see. I must admit, for the Nations League, I don't think Scotland have got as many points as their performances have actually deserved. I think they've been unlucky in quite a few games. So, the night, we'll see how they get on against Portugal. Arne Engels again played for Belgium last night against Israel. There's an argument that Israel shouldn't be in international competition, but we'll leave that out there. Again, he seemed to play in a different role. He played in the more advanced role last night. I watched the Belgians play Italy the other night there, and I put it down to maybe the quality of the Italians that the Belgians struggled. But seemingly, before the reports, they actually struggled again last night. But Engels came out it with a sort of solid display. But the whole sort of noise round about the Belgian national team the news are actually quite struggling, and they are seeing Engels as one for the future.
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, like on the Engels, I still see Celtic fans some struggling to be won over by him a bit, but I think there's a real quality player there. I think if you said to us a couple of seasons ago you're going to have a 20-year-old Belgium international that played regularly in the Bundesliga, he'd have bit the hand off for it. I think it's interesting when you say about his position, because it's hard to see if he's better sort of dropping back deeper or playing behind centre, because he seems to play kind of everywhere. He done the same for Wolfsburg. He played a variety of positions. So I think as time goes on, you'll start to see sort of natural position coming out. And you can look at Callum McGregor as well for that, because for years he was a left winger. When he started, and he's the holding midfielder. So these guys, especially at that age, will adapt and learn and develop. And I'm sure under a coach like Brendan, his best position is going to come out, and you really see his quality. But actually, I think over the season, I've still been really impressed with him. I still think he's just I think people expect him to be like Matt O'Reilly and banging loads of goals and be this sort of and he's not. That's not it.
That's exactly it. That's it. And this is where I've came from. I've sort of admitted that my perception is this. My perception was we were getting a Matt O'Reilly replacement, and I've been basing everything that my projection has been I want to see a Matt O'Reilly replacement, and gradually now that view has been eroded, going, we've got a completely different player here.
Yeah, and if you look at the work he puts in, even in Europe in particular, the Atalanta game, people say, he was quiet, but he was really effective off the ball. His athleticism, his marking, putting himself into good positions, freeing the ball up for people, being clever. It's the same against Leipzig. So I think he's one of the guys that's really quietly effective. I get the impression that his teammates will appreciate more than maybe the fans looking at first. But I think we'll really see him progressing and getting the best. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Hatate's been improving either. I think the dynamic's been pretty good. You know, we like Bernardo and Engels when they're playing alongside McGregor as well. It allows Hatate to just free up a bit more, although even defensively he's got better as well, to be fair. But I think the dynamic's really quite good just now in midfield. And Engels is a massive, massive part of that for me. And again, just about to turn 21, I think. You know, huge.
He's turned 21 at the start of the season.
Or just turned 21, right? Okay,
He's just turned 21.
Massive upside, like absolutely huge. And as I say, I think when you look at performances in Europe, when you look at how Rodgers is coaching the players, how they're doing, I think, you know, the sky's the limit for the guy.
It is, and I'm not going to judge him like until about maybe even this point next year, maybe even before. Look at that. Playing for Celtic is physically and mentally no easy. And he's came in to replace a massive player for us, a player, and even then, there right away, that's my perception bias. I went replace.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it was salty as, or that's the way our fans think. One goes out, one comes in as a replacement. Where bottom line is, you didn't replace any player. Somebody else comes in, and the team either change shape or the team. There is no player comes in as exactly like for like than the player they've actually replaced. Even the subs coming on are no like for like for the players that they actually replace. So
you know what? I think that's a good thing for Celtic, particularly under Rodgers, because under Ange, the system was more prevalent than the players, and a lot of times, so the players had to fit that system, and that was it. Whereas you saw, and I think O'Reilly benefited for this a lot. Rodgers likes them to sort of take control and have their own stamp on it. And I think you saw that from Matt O'Reilly. He had a bit more freedom, and I think he improved a bit. So I think actually the fact that players aren't, you know, exactly all the same in committed play, I think that suits us better under Rodgers, because he likes that creativity, that thinking for themselves. Obviously, he's got a way of playing and a way of functioning like any manager, but you can see he enjoys players coming up with stuff, you know, being a little bit different, not necessarily prescribed all the way. I think he likes that football intelligence, and I think that's where his coaching comes in. And I think, again, I think you'll benefit that. And just in terms of when you said about judging, see, whenever people are talking about Engels just now, we need to remember what we're saying about Kuhn when he first came in. We need to bear that in mind, because almost universally, and I know everybody's going to say they never, and because they know I was the one that stuck up for him, most people said, don't know about this guy, he's not looking the part at all. He's not big enough, he's not fast enough, he's not clever enough. Now we've got him well on the Ballon d'Or. So we need to give guys just that bit of time, a good pre-season under the gaffer, get used to the system. As you said, you know, we again, as fans, we talk about Celtic as this massive club, and it is, but we don't give players the sort of benefit of the doubt and saying, look, you're going to a massive club, it's going to take time to settle in. We just kind of expect right away, and I don't think you can have it both ways. So some players come in up and running right away, no problem. Some players need to find their feet and get used to the expectations. But I think if anybody's doubting guys like Kuhn, guys like Engels, I think you need to look at Kuhn and how he's doing, because what a season he's having. He's been quite incredible, actually.
Well, that brings me on to the point that's been brought up in the comments here. With Luis Morenzo, I love that, and he's with a photo with jockey Brian McClare there.
There we are.
And what Lewis says is Hatate should be stepping up to replace what Matt O'Reilly brought to the team. What I would actually say is you're maybe right, but again, that's maybe a prejudgment because of the position that he plays. I love Joe Hart's comments about Hatate, where the players realise that he'll maybe give the ball away, but then there's one time he'll turn and that pitch will open up for him and he'll play one of the world-class balls. What I would actually say there is Hatate has been outshone by Kuhn. Nicholas Kuhn has replaced Matt O'Reilly in terms of goals and assists in that Celtic team.
Yeah, potentially. But I think, see with Hatate, and this is where I'd slightly push back on Lewis's comment, just because Hatate the qualities he brings are so different to Matt Riley's anyway. Like, they're really good dynamic, but he's such a different type of player. One of the things that Tati's been so good at this season, and it was really, highlighted for me in the Leipzig game, was getting the ball and just turning forward, just turning and opening it up, just moving the team forward, no taking a touch and passing it back, and then looking for it, just taking it in and turning. Not even the Hollywood passes, not even the clever wee assists or the movement, just that turn and the team then driving forward. It was brilliant, and it really, everything sort of kicked off for there. I thought it was so important to how he played against Leipzig, and he will give the ball away, he will make mistakes, but it doesn't really matter. It's if he makes mistakes and his head goes down and he starts to get beat and the confidence goes, that's a problem. But he gets it to try again, and when it comes off, it's incredible. Like, and as I say, I think under Rodgers, like, I think Dysen's improved, and I think Hatate as well. Sort of defensively, he's getting a bit better. He's still not great at pressing. He's got loads of endeavour, but he's not brilliant defensively. But just getting that ball, being clever with it, turning and not putting pressure on the back four, taking it in and then looking for a pass, I think it's been excellent. And going back to Engels, I think having Engels in the team to help recover the ball, if Hatate loses it, it's so important, because Hatate knows, like, I've got McGregor there, I've got big Engels, I've got my fullbacks coming in, he's got Dyson in front of him, usually on the left-hand side. So there's plenty to cover if he does lose it. And what gives you on the ball so much more important than any flaws for me.
I'm bad for it as well. You are bad for it as well. And when you say, this boy's not playing well, and that, it's almost as if we do not give anybody scope to have a bad spell in a game or a bad game. I mean, you have a look at the Kilmarnock game, and I'm going to speak about this week and where this week is going to lead. Like, you have a look at that Kilmarnock game, that was just a win at all costs. But there was a point at that, when you have a look at the starting 11, you're going like that. Some of you didn't have your best game there, but you actually managed to dig out the result. And that is going to happen with the number of games that we're playing between Saturday and the 1st of February. We're going to need to use the squad, and there is guys are going to have off nights, and that's what happens. That's what happens in football. It doesn't mean that the guys are no trying. It doesn't mean that they're no fighting for the cause. Just sometimes it just doesn't work. Just like you, if you're a window cleaner, sometimes that you'll go up a ladder and forget your chamois. That's what happens. It happens in every walk of life. Matthias Toboggan comes in. Engels has looked good in the Champions League, but a wee bit, what the F have I signed up for against Ross County and Kilmarnock? Once he adjusted the culture shock of some of our domestic games, the consistency will come. I agree with that. I really agree. This is a season for him to actually find his feet. If you have a look at and I'm going to go back to the Matt O'Reilly, but someday Mantis comes in again. Stan Petrov, perfect example. Sometimes it just takes players a year or 18 months to bed in. Problem is, us as a highly demanding support, sometimes didn't give players that time to come in and settle in and actually grow into a Celtic side. For me, I don't think I have this. It's difficult with Engels for me at the moment. I can see he's a player. I'm just wondering where his best fit in that Celtic midfield is going to be, because he is settling in. He's getting used to the surroundings. He's getting used to his teammates. But hell, there's talent there. I can see that I can actually see that there's talent there. I just want to see how he's going to be one of the mainstays in that Celtic team for hopefully the next 2 to 3 years. Who else? There was another comment.
I've just got to say before you bring it up, Mantis Toboggan is an absolutely stellar Twitter handle or YouTube handle. It's absolutely, it cracks me up every time I hear it. Really good.
Mantis Toboggan,
Mantis Toboggan.
Good.
That's a Mantis Toboggan. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Lewis again, does anybody actually notice Engels' movement off the ball, taking players away? No.
Yeah, that's what I said at the start, especially I think in Atalanta and in Leipzig. I thought he done the sort of the unattractive stuff almost really well. Plus, he's really good at winning the ball back. He likes to tackle. He's a big, strong guy as well. But on the point about the playing at Kilmarnock and stuff like that, so different, and especially for a guy who's came through the Bundesliga, which is an incredibly high standard of football every week. I mean, even some of the bottom half teams are excellent to watch, like really, really good, strong, athletic, but really, really technical. So that's why he's probably done a bit better in Europe. But domestically, he's not against some hammer throws like Kamala that put the boot in, and you could see he was getting frustrated. But again, it would just take a bit of time. I saw somebody comment, it was ridiculizer, and it was a ridiculous comment to be fair. He said he would give any player 5 games max, which is an utter nonsense, to be honest, because there's, he never had a pre-season with us. He came in late in the window. He's been playing almost every game. He's young. He's learning. The team shifted around about him. 5 games for to judge a player is absolute nonsense for me.
It is for me. It is, and I'm guilty of it. I must admit, I'm guilty of it. I make rash judgments, and at times I allow myself one meltdown a season. and
I give myself one meltdown a week, to be honest. Usually that's.
And I think I had the meltdown after the 2H game at Aberdeen, and I says to my daughter on the way at the stadium, I says, my meltdown this season's came pretty early. I went, that's me done it. That's it. Oh, that's me over. Don't worry, be happy now, and just go for just go along for the ride. Engels, Hampden against Aberdeen. That was the first time, maybe it was where I was in the stadium and the view of the pitch that I had. That was the first time I really noticed how he seemed to move about the pitch, really move about the pitch. He glides. He reminded me a bit of Thomas Muller, where you wouldn't see him at one point, and then all of a sudden he would pop up somewhere else in the right place at the right time. And that was the first time I've really seen it. As I say, I think it was probably the vantage point where I was that I could actually see it more. And I was like, you are a definite player, son. And this is going to be an exciting ride to actually see what you do here, because this will be the best place that he ever plays football. And I'll say that, and I'll say that to Matt O'Reilly as well. You're not going to get anywhere better to play football in Celtic Park. And Arnie Engels is the exact same. Monty comes in. I don't know what he means there. I had a chamois this morning, Kev.
Thanks for sharing.
It's a bit cold to wash your windies, mate. It's a very bit cold to wash your windies. A bit chilly for that. Andy O'Donnell is watching us on the train. Afternoon, lads, on the train back up to Aberdeen after seeing Kneecap last night at the Barrowlands roll on Sunday. I was there last night as well, Andy. It was a bit like a party at David Coote's house. It was mad. So, Saturday night, let's talk about madness. Let's talk about utter madness. Saturday night, 8 o'clock kick-off at Tynecastle. It's going to be the most hostile place this version of Brendan Rodgers' Celtic have faced this season. There's going to be some alcohol partaken in. By that time, there'll be cheap wine on breaths, there'll be whiskey on breaths, there'll be all sort of fruity juices on breaths. It will be hostile. It's under the floodlights. It will be magic. I'm really, really looking forward to this. And if we go there and scalp them, it bodes well for the next 12 weeks. And this is a big, massive test for us. This is a test where we can, I think, between now, Saturday night, and the Saturday night away at Tynecastle, then we play. Then on the 1st of February, we play Motherwell at Fir Park. Then we get the break for the Scottish Cup. There's a break for the Scottish Cup week. This is going to decide the season. This period is going to make our season. And what a place to start at Tynecastle, a place where you're utterly hated. Hated. It's going to be bile filled.
Yeah,
and we can go there and shut them up.
Definitely, 100%, Kevin. Just on that, if Andy's running about the Swindon area on Saturday, we're having a Danny T down, and we're having our Swindon CSC Christmas do a wee bit early, but starting for the doors are open 3 o'clock. We've got music, we've got games, we've got giveaways, we've got raffles. I dare say plenty of drink, plenty of songs, and then we've got the game at 8 o'clock. So anybody running about the area, or if you're not running about the area and you fancy an exotic trip to Swindon, tomorrow would be Saturday would be the best time. But on the game itself, you made a point about the players settling and understanding, and that's going to be a real acid test for some of the players as well, especially some of the newer guys to go there, because Tynecastle, regardless of what you think about Hearts, it's a brilliant stadium. Like, the atmosphere is always good. I remember guys like McGeady and Lennon used to always say how much they love playing there. And I think that it's going to be a bit of an acid test for the players. In terms of there's no reason we shouldn't beat Hearts. I know having a fairly good season. I think they've picked up a bit under the new gaffer, but I don't think they've got the cutting edge. However, it's that atmosphere, that pressure, that intensity that the players are going to need to overcome. And I also totally agree with you about this period, because by the time sorry, I've just got Paddy's question. I'll answer that in a second, Paddy. By the time we get to February 1st, we could have, got X amount of points in the Champions League, a bit of record for ourselves. Really get success in Europe, be ahead in the league. It's going to be an amazing process. And my only slight worry about the squad and the squad rotation is, as good as we've been all season, and as good as the squad's looking, defensively and out wide, I still think we're struggling a bit. Now, I think Scales, Trusty and Carter Vickers have all had excellent seasons. I think Trusty and Scales in particular have been very, very good. But we don't have Welsh, Narosky on the update. And if there's any injuries, things like that, suddenly we could be damaged defensively. And the same out wide, as we spoke about Kuhn, Maeda's been sensational this year. Forrest is a living legend, a hero of the club, and it's always good when he comes on. But again, Yang, Palmer, neither of them are for me, and that's my only slight worry. I don't have concerns over Big Ida, because I think he'll a run of games, and the more games he gets, the better he'll get. But he's not started the season great either, so we just need to make sure that the squad's up there and it's managed well, and I'm absolutely sure it will be. Brendan Rodgers has shown that he's really good at keeping that squad sort of fairly streamlined, and he can rotate well and keep them quite happy. The only thing I don't want to see is sort of mass rotation. I don't want to see completely different, starting 11s, right, game to game, because I don't think that works. I think just careful, consider the rotation, and hopefully we stay injury free. And I'm very confident we'll be in a great place come February.
Right, let's start with your centre half. Hang with. Our three first choice centre halves are Cameron Carter, Vickers, Trusty, and Liam Scales. I'm happy with a combination of any three of them.
Yeah,
I'm really, really happy with a combination of any three of them. I'm no longer going to question what Liam Scales brings to Celtic. I'm not going to be bored about what folk see are his limitations. I've watched what he brings to Celtic, and you pair him with Trusty or you pair him with Cameron Carter Vickers. I've got no worries about Liam Scales coming in there. No worries whatsoever. So as long as two of those three are fit, I don't think it drastically weakens the back line. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we do not know what Rodgers is actually thinking as the first choice pairing. You're probably thinking, for me, his comment about pace probably means that he's got Trusty ahead of Scales. But I know for a fact that Brendan Rodgers, and we've seen it for a fact, that Brendan Rodgers trusts Liam Scales.
Scales has been an excellent season. So he has. He's been really good this season, I think.
So even last season, there was a bit towards the end when Darovsky and all of that won they getting a chance, and people were going, why are they not getting a chance? Why don't they get a chance? Simple thing was, Liam Scales is Brendan Rodgers' man, and Liam Scales actually proves to Brendan Rodgers can trust Liam Scales. He trusted him, and he still trusts him. But he signed Trusty, who's got a slightly different skill set, who can still defend the box like a trooper, but he's slightly better on the ball, and he's got slightly more pace. And that's it. But that's not a slight on Liam Scales whatsoever. I'm going to agree with you on the wings. I think that was a a thing in the summer that we spoke about, that we wanted to bring in another winger. Even though we can't really argue about the business of the summer, even though we spent 3 months moaning about it, then all of a sudden it all came good. I mean, we should maybe just keep our mouth shut on stuff like that. Bottom line is, we were willing to let Palmer go if a decent bid came in the last week of the window. And I know some folk are still pinning their hearts on Palmer. I think he's a decent player who doesn't suit the way that we play. I don't think he's got the pace to do what Rodgers wants from wide forwards, I'm going to call them. I didn't even call them when they're wide forwards. I don't think he's got the pace to actually do what Rodgers wants. And I think the surprising thing over the last couple of weeks has been the reintroduction of Yang coming in certain games. Is it a long-term solution? Probably not. But I'm having a look at the games here, and I think we're going to need Forrest and Yang at certain points. And we've got to hope that Kuhn doesn't get injured. But one of our main priorities in January, it feels too early to be talking about the January transfer window, is to try and bring in another winger of the quality of Nicholas Kuhn. There is other options that we've got there, but I do agree with you, we're probably quite weak in that wide area. This run of games that we've got coming up as well, like it or not, I believe that Brendan Rodgers, the same reason that Brendan Rodgers trusts Liam Scales, I believe that Brendan Rodgers will lean on Greg Taylor quite heavily during this run of games and the big ones, because he knows what Greg Taylor can actually give him. And again, it's trust. And I don't think Bailly has maybe got that trust yet from Rodgers, even though he's another guy who's got all the football ability in the world.
Yeah, I like Bailly. I think he was another one that was criticised right at the start, and people were saying he was rotten. But I think he's a really good player as well. I don't know if there were rumours he was getting recalled in January to Barcelona and stuff like that, but I don't know why that's nonsense. If that's going to play a factor, I do think, if I'm honest, he's more suited to how Brendan uses fullbacks. But I think, to your point, I think Taylor's trusted more. And I think the way that, and again, Taylor was excellent against Leipzig as well. And I think the way he comes into midfield is going to, benefit that, the way we play. And he's become a stalwart, Taylor. And, earlier on we spoke about, you mentioned that some players maybe didn't show up very well at times against Kilmarnock. And I think that's where the mentality comes in. And if you look at guys like Taylor, like Scales, like Alistair Johnson, sometimes maybe they're not having the greatest game, but you can rely on them, that the heat's not going to go down. They'll keep giving you it all. They won't blame everybody else. They won't flap. I know Greg's a wee bit a Peter the Pointer at times, but in general, you can really dig in, and I think that'll be relied upon. And I say that's where it's going to be key, how he rotates and where. So I think you'll always see like some version of some of these guys throughout the team. So I don't think it'll be totally pulled out. I think you'll always have these sort of core in one form or another in there. And on Yang, I'm not a fan of Yang. I think, people keep saying, he's got a lot of potential, blah, 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 and I get that, but I just don't see it. I think his decision making is still quite poor. However, to your point, we all need to use him. Well, he's in the building, you need to use him, and I would trust him a bit more than I would Palmer. And I think if he's got, Alistair Johnson behind him, the leaders in midfield, Forrest on the other side, there's enough there to shield him and talk him through games. So if it's Yang and Palmer, I think that's a concern. But if you've got maybe somebody slightly weaker in the team, there's enough strength around about them now to talk them through it. And I think we've maybe got more leaders in the squad than some things we talk about. And I think Taylor's one of them. AJ, I think Scales is becoming a bit of a leader, to be honest, just in terms of how he goes about his business, how he keeps going. Whenever there's doubt, he pushes through it. He gives his all. McGregor obviously is McGregor. And I tell you a guy who I think attitude-wise I really love is Bernardo. Like, he's a guy that he's so passionate, just always wanting to win, shouting, getting in there, just even for the bench you can see him cheering on, and I love that for the team. And I think, you look at guys like Bernardo, who I think's had a good season. He knows he's going to be in and out the team, but the question is, can you come in, improve, you're good enough to remain, and that's the level of competition we should always have. Like it's one of the ones where you know who the main starters are going to be generally in the team, but there should still always be a bit of a question. There should be, well, if we switch them out, that should be enough to come in, and I think we're nearly there. We're seeing just a couple of areas that I think we could be a bit better depth-wise.
Look, I don't think we've got a first 11 now. I think we've got a first 15, 16 who will all be used at certain points and will need to be used at certain points. But that's the benefit of us being a big club. And it's the benefit of us playing on we'll be playing on 4 fronts, at 3 fronts just now. We have got a squad, and how many games this season we've actually took the subs to come on and actually inject something else, something different into that side. And this is where the squad harmony and that's going to come in. You've even got time like Alistair Johnson is the right back spot nailed, but we'll have to manage Johnson because he's coming back from. He's got a kind of injury, and we need to manage him. The amount of games that we're actually looking at managed. Then you've got Tony Ralston, who is honest as the day is long. That's what he is. He is as honest as the day is long. Yes, he is not as good as Alistair Johnson, but there's certain games where you could give Tony Ralston 60 minutes. For example, would have been the Dundee game at Celtic Park. Ralston never done much wrong, never done much right. He was just there. Johnston comes on, one outside overlap. Yang manages to get to the byline, bump 1-0. That's the difference. But Ralston played his part for that 60 minutes that night as well. In the midfield, you speak about Bernardo as well. It's fantastic. I think we've got a good mix in that midfield. You've got Cal McGregor, you've got Engels, you've got Atati, got Bernardo, and you've got Luke McCowan, right? You say that we've got a starting 11, but any free starting that 5's no a surprise to me. It doesn't matter what game, any free out that 5 starting doesn't go, oh, that's a strange decision. That you go, no, I understand. You would look at it and go, oh, well, I'll get that. I do get that, knowing full well you've got the other 2 to come off the bench. I reckon this run of games, out of all the signings that we've made, out of this run of games, I think Luke McCowan is going to be most important for us, because we're now getting to a point where it's frozen the day. The pitches are going to start getting a wee bit harder, a wee bit softer, a wee bit more cut up. This is where points make prizes. And there is going to be games where you're just going to be that winning machine. Like Kilmarnock, no play well, but you get away with the 3 points. And there's going to be more and more games like this where you're just going to need guys like McCowan to come into that midfield and go, I'm going to give you that wee bit of Scottish mentality. It knows that we've just got to put up the sleeves and get this over the line. And I think we're going to see the best of McCowan over the next 12 weeks or so, because I think he's going to get game time. And I think some of these games are absolutely going to suit him more than some of the. He'll maybe no start, but I reckon I'm having a look at it. I'm going to go through the fixture. He'll maybe no start, but he'll make a contribution every time that he comes on. If a game's in a balance and we bring on Luke McCowan, I fully trust him to actually have an influence in the game.
We were talking about it just a minute ago, about attitude and heart and, a bit of leadership, and I think he gives you that. I'll be honest, I said it last time I was on as well. At the start of the season, I was going, I don't know if I fancy why he was signing him. That seems like an opportunity for Niles to get a game, and I'm not sure what we're doing here, but delighted to be proved wrong. I think that, he's not come in and played loads of games, but when he's come in, he's done well. I think it looks like he's improved already. It looks like he's taken that step up. He looks really reliable, and like you said, if he's we see the team coming out and he's starting, you go, all right, good, fair enough. There's no that sort of, what's he start for this, a disaster, and the way it was last year. And I think that's testament to the squad and really being able to dig in. And again, we referenced skills a lot today, and I think you can see similar with McCowan, because we're saying if you're Scotland, you don't know, if he's going to be brilliant, it's not the glorious sort of fancy signing. People are going to say we need an upgrade. But every time he's going to play, he's going to give you all the way Scales did. And now, nobody's talking about Scales like that. People are saying, well, Scales is good. If he starts brilliant, he's developing well. So I think patience for guys like that as well. But you're right. I think it'll be guys like him, and as I say, guys like Taylor as well, who just have that extra mentality. They've been there, horses for courses. And then you've got the guys like McCowan, who's new to the club but has that real sort of winning mentality. And I think you see that. And look, I know it's one of those cliches, and we're entitled to speaking cliches at times, but
that's because they're usually true.
It's true, aye. And
cliches are usually true, so that's why they're cliche.
That's what I play. And the sign of champions is playing poorly and getting it over the line. And I think it was really telling actually. Brendan Rodgers, when he spoke after the Kilmarnock game, and he said this time last year we'd have lost that game.
Yes, that was really telling.
Of not just the extra quality, but the mentality to see that out. And I think that was telling, but true, and I totally agreed.
The game against Kilmarnock, the criticism I would make of Rodgers was that I don't think he made the changes quick enough. I think you could see Kilmarnock's high press. Quinny for this channel and also the Celts Are Here channel done a really interesting thing. They basically done the exact same as what Aberdeen done, and I reckon Hearts will do the same. The Hearts new manager wants to play high pressing football, so I reckon you will see them play 5 across the halfway line. The problem against Kilmarnock, that what we didn't have was the long ball across the top can kill teams, and we just didn't do it well enough on that day. And in the individual duels in the middle of the park, we weren't strong enough. And my kind of thinking was that Bernardo or McCowan should have came on earlier in that midfield to go, it's a physical game today. I'm just going to outmuscle this boy. And the park opens up. If we'd have broke their press once and somebody had the physicality to break their press once, then the park opens wide. We were man for man at the back. We were man for man with them, their attack on them. So, aye, Tynecastle's going to be the exact same, because I think teams have now looked at the blueprint. They'll have a look. I think the new Hearts managers, I can't remember his name. Critchley, that's it. He's a forward-thinking manager. He likes teams to press. He likes to. So they'll have a look at what Kilmarnock done to us. They'll have a look at what Aberdeen done to us in that 10-minute spell at Celtic Park, and they'll go, if we do that well enough, then we can trouble Celtic for a period, and that's what they'll try to do. Going back to Rugby Park, I think if either scores the chance in the first 5 minutes and we go 1-0 up early, it becomes a completely different game.
I was going to say that. See, when you to your point about the change you get made too late, I kind of agree. I'd like to solve particularly McCowan earlier, but I suppose if I'm going to play devil's advocate, maybe it was a case of going, right, look, he's in this fight, dig yourself out of it. Just persevere, play your game, and get through it further than your guys, which is obviously a risky game, but maybe that was part of the reason. But I do agree. The only thing I'd say about the Hearts, I think, although they'll be trying to adopt a similar approach, they don't have nearly the physicality that Aberdeen and Kilmarnock have. And I think that Kilmarnock really went risky, because McInnes has done this before, went kind of man for man with us, and it's times we've battered them, times it's been reasonably effective. I don't see Hearts doing a similar approach. I think they will try and press high, because it looks like that's the new guys' sort of philosophy. But I just think our class will show through it, and if it doesn't, our mentality will. And I tell you as well, one of the other key weapons we've got this season is Casper Schmeichel. The confidence that defence must feel with him behind him. And it's not a slight on Joe Hart, but just being able to gain the ball, knowing he's going to do something really good with it 90% of the time, knowing he's still a top class keeper. Like, you're going to have that. There's the nervousness that you saw at times last season looks to be gone. And I think that he's really key. And people are almost taking it for granted that he's going to make loads of saves and be good. But I always think it's worth calling out, because I think that a really good keeper really helps the defence in terms of the confidence, I think, and that ability just playing out positionally. whereas at times in the past we've not had that.
That was one of the things that annoyed me at Rugby Park, that his distribution wasn't good enough to break those press, because there was a long ball on virtually all the time. Either had a poor game, he didn't hold the ball up, and that was maybe the out ball that we wanted. But there was still balls to the wing for Dyson and Kuhn. They long ball over the top, get them 1-on-1 and go by their guys was still on it, and that was one of the frustrating things. But Casper kept us in the game. He actually was a big reason that he got 3 points. And the guy was quite snipey and tried to elbow him in the coat as well.
And I think Casper, we did it twice. I think Casper was going to kill him. He doesn't look like a man to mess about with, the big fella.
No, he doesn't. We've already spoke about the wing. I didn't think, for me, there's no any argument that Kyogo's the first choice striker. There's no any argument whatsoever. But there is games when Ida's going to come on and change it, and there is games where, like Rugby Park, that's an Ida game all the way. But then Kyogo comes on and gives him something different to actually think about. But the Saturday night, Kyogo's starting there. That's
100%. Yeah, I think, and what you always need to remember with Kyogo is he's not one of the players you can just count by his goals, because his movement is so good that it's just destroying defences, because they never know where to go, and it's making spaces for everybody else. And even when it's not like a direct goal or direct assist, his influence on the attack is massive, just in terms of how he moves, where he moves. People never know quite where he is. Salon Isaac when he's a second striker and press really high. Him and Hitati, if Hitati's been sort of pushing up next to him and pressing almost as a front two at times, it's really benefiting him as well. So I think that, he's not quite been smashed in the goals, but he's still so important to how we play and how we attack. But it's very hard to make a real massive argument to replace him, especially with Ida not been quite on it so far this season. But again, if you go back to my earlier point about Big Ida, I think as these games come thick and fast and there is rotation, that's where you see him improving. And I think, getting comfortable, and he just needs a couple of goals for confidence, I think. And I think then we're in good hands. And it gets to that point we made about the midfield, where if he's starting to the Kyogo, you kind of go, all right, okay, that's not a huge worry here. But yeah, if you're asking me about Saturday, and I think, Kyogo starts. Europe, I think Kyogo starts. It's going to be really interesting where Rodgers picks and chooses who plays up front and how that correlates to who picks in the midfield. Because I think behaviourally, the midfield will play different depending who's up front. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how, and that's what I'm saying at the start. I don't think you should rotate, a whole, having two separate 11s. I think it would be changes here and there with a core people he trusts, and then it would be interesting to see who plays in terms of the dynamics. So who's better with Kyogo in front of them? Who's better if he's shying out wide and see the Kuhn, etc. I think that's where you might see some interesting choices.
Liam Devine. Kyogo's movement is on another planet. Genuinely one of my favourite ever Celtic players because of his movement. The jump from Eddie to him was absolutely wild. Maybe Liam's meaning that he didn't think that you could get better than Eddie, and we've seemed to have got a better player. For me, it's not an argument. I think Kyogo has been a better striker than French Eddie for Celtic over the time frames that they've been here. I think Kyogo, like Eddie, did turn up in the big games, but I think Kyogo's offered far more than what Eddie did, and I love Eddie. I really do.
It's a hard thing in it because remember one time before we were having a discussion and Tim and two was on and we were saying, is Kyogo been the best striker since Larsson? And I said I think he's been the most effective striker in terms of the impact to the team and that talismanic nature. But I think, if you just looked at player attributes and stuff, I think Eddie and DeBelly were incredible footballers. So it's really hard to compare because they're very different types of striker. But I think Kyogo's been the most effective for us out of the three. But I think again, it goes back to the comment at the start. We say Matt O'Reilly and Engels, or Matt O'Reilly and Hatate. It's like they're all very different players, even if they're in the same position. So I think sometimes comparing who's technically the better player doesn't always work. I think in terms of who's more effective, I think Kyogo's been so sensational, and it goes to the point I just made. It's not just his goals, it's his movement, it's what he adds to the team, it's that sort of how he spooks other players as well. There's all these kind of unquantifiable elements that he brings, and I think that's why he's so keen. And plus, he's just one of those characters as well, and he's got such a he's just one of the guys like these guys class. I just love him. He's the best. It's like AJ for me. I absolutely love Alistair Johnston.
You just love him. You can that they completely love playing for Celtic.
Aye, and you feel that in the stand, and you feel that when you're watching. It's meeting Peter as well. What I always love about Kyogo, and we spoke about us being vertically challenged. He's a wee guy. He's a wee skinny guy, and yet he puts himself about. He tries. He's banging goals in this league wherever they say they'd be rotten. He's done it in Europe where he was too little to compete. It's amazing. So there's always that sort of underdog side to it as well, where you go, no, the wee man's up for this, and he's doing well. And
he's fly as well. All this picking players up and that, he's fly. He is really fly.
He does a wee bit naughty at times. He's so calm that he doesn't look as if he's losing the rag. It's good.
There's a wee bit of cunning with Kyogo. Definitely, there's certain things that you can see. The goal in the League Cup final, Beale's League Cup final, when he's actually got the hood of the Rangers player's jersey to stop him getting ruined in front of him and go, that is class.
Yeah,
that's not a free kick. That's just you using an advantage because you ken the boy's more physical, but you've got that jersey wrapped right round so the referee can't even see. You've got a hood of the jersey to actually get in front of him. I said, that is really, really good. David C says he's the best since Larsson. I don't know. Henrik Larsson will still always be the greatest football player I've seen playing for Celtic.
Larsson's one of the best players that ever played for Celtic. It's world class.
Liam Devine. Well, he's quite right. Like watching Eddie strolling around, you say, okay, that's how much this guy can physically run. Then you see Kyogo and you're like, wow, that's the amount of energy that he puts in. This is a conversation for another day, but what I would say is Kyogo's now 30 and you don't know if he'd maybe sign another contract when his contract ends, but just because the age, Rodgers will only sign another guy that's got the physical attributes of Kyogo. There will be a more Edward Ida type striker come in rather than a Kyogo. And I think that's just Rodgers, but I think Rodgers maybe had his doubts about Kyogo to start off with, but I think he knows that Kyogo is your number one striker quite a bit. We'll have a wee look at the fixtures coming up because we're talking about rotating the squads and all of that. So against Hearts, you'll be virtually first choice everywhere, depending on how they come back for international duty. You would say that is what there's going to be first choice on the pitch.
Aye, well, we both actually there that it's the kind of starting 15, so I think I don't know what you've got. What I would say is first choice, but if there is changes, I wouldn't be hugely surprised. But I imagine it would be Schmeichel, Johnson, as long as no injuries, Carter Vickers, Trusty, Taylor. I think Kalmack, Engels, Hatate, Maeda, Kyogo, Kuhn. But if there is rotation, I don't think it weakens it particularly. But that's probably where you see, because I think he's really want to make sure that these guys, because I don't think he's the fan of resting players before, so that's probably the team that starts in Europe as well. So I suspect that he'll start that with that in mind, and then maybe change it 60 minutes, something like that, as he's want to. But I suspect he'll want the players that are playing on Tuesday to be sharp, ready. And actually, I think a battle at Tynecastle suits us going into the Bruges game, because we're in this weird situation now where we've done pretty well in Europe, Dortmund aside. In fact, done very well in Europe, Dortmund aside. So confidence is so high where everybody's thinking we're going to smash Bruges. But I think it's going to be a harder game than people think. I think it's going to be a nervous game at times. And so I think he's going to want the players as ready and sharp and as prepared as they possibly can be, because I don't think we just turn up on Tuesday and stroll it. Tuesday, Wednesday, I think Wednesday. I don't think we just stroll it. I think it's going to be a hard game, maybe harder than we expect. I think we'll win it, but we want to make sure we get a real strong performance. And I think maybe if there's any, depending on how the game goes, if it starts getting a bit naughty, a bit feisty, you might look at switching things out for injuries. But I imagine it'd be the same starting 11 for both.
I think the only doubts that you may have, somebody in the comments can maybe get me right here. I don't know when the Japanese players will come back. So I'm wondering if the fact that it is I says an 8 o'clock kickoff, it's a 7:45 kickoff on Saturday night, still stands. It's still going to be the most hostile place in Britain on Saturday at 7:45 at Tynecastle. I'm wondering if there's going to be a bit of jet lag fatigue comes in there, eh? And
Dyson's ran back for Japan. He'll be back
he's
ready.
fine, eh? I'm maybe thinking Bernardo for Hatate.
Maybe.
Just depending on how they come back for international duty. You've then mentioned on the Wednesday night we've got Club Bruges. That is an 8 o'clock kickoff. I think your midfield free for that game is Hatate, Kalmak, and Engels. Game at Tynecastle, I'm a wee bit I can see a Bernardo appearing in there just because we've got that game. Bernardo has been away on international duty, unlike Engels and Hatate. Or has it been? He's maybe away with the Portuguese under 21s. I'm not on, but I can see a Bernardo coming in, or even a McCowan coming in at Tynecastle for maybe Hatate or maybe Engels because they've been away on international duty. Club Bruges, my midfield free is what I would class as European midfield free, which is Kalmak, Engels, and Hatate. Then, following Saturday the 30th of November, you got Celtic at home to Ross County, and there's your game where if you're going to see Rodgers put trust in his squad, that might be that game because a couple of days later we're at Pittodrie. So
massive game, massive.
You're having a look at this in a block of 5, and you're going, wow, there's going to be some decision, Rodgers has got some tough decisions to make here. But you're having a look at that Ross County game at Celtic Park, and you're going, if there's anyone that is going to sort of no gamble because he trusts everybody in his squad, but he might see a Dundee first 11 come out for 60 minutes. That is a game that you're looking at. Then after the Aberdeen game in the midweek, we then got Hibs at home as well. So you're looking at the Ross County and Hibs games where you might see, because after the Hibs game, you're away to Zagreb. So you're looking at
the Aberdeen one. It's going to be interesting because I think you might see a Bernardo in that because physically Aberdeen are especially in the middle of the park. Is it Nelson, the big guy, the defensive midfield, likes to put himself about?
The big blonde, dirty guy.
Aye, the big
just
blonde
boots
guy.
Boys. Aye.
You might see a Bernardo or a McCowan in to sort of combat that because Bernardo in those physical situations is good. Again, big, strong, likes a tackle. He likes to put himself about, good at covering. So you may see just purely for tactics as opposed to a sort of stronger or weaker rotation of players. I think you might see very specifically tactically some decisions, and I think maybe you might see Bernardo early at Tynecastle if the game's going that way, just to sort of help show that up and put players in because he seems to really enjoy that side of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you might see that. So as opposed to a sort of look, we're only playing Ross County, let's play these guys. I think it'll be more tactical switches you'll see over the course. And then maybe in the Ross County, see maybe 4 changes instead of the 2 changes you might see somewhere else.
Even when you get to Zagreb, you've also got Hibs on the 7th of December, then you've got Zagreb on the 10th, then the League Cup final on the 15th. You've got 5 days between Zagreb and the League Cup final. that's long enough recovery time where you didn't need to be thinking about the weekend in Zagreb. Zagreb's a big enough game on standalone. Some would even argue that Zagreb is the biggest game of that week. And they can have that if they want. They can have, depending on the result against Club Brugge, you can argue that Zagreb will be the biggest game that week. But there's 5 days between that game. And the game before that is Hibs at Celtic Park. And no decrying Hibs or anything like that. I think the only way that Hibs will trouble us at Celtic Park is if they change manager before then. So there's 2 games earmarked. They Ross County and Hibs games are the ones I'm having a look at. I'm going, you might see 4, 5 changes in the games, but all the rest of them, there's going to be maybe 1 or 2 slight tactical tweaks.
Injuries as well, like Carter Vickers, for instance. Like, can he do 2 games in a week now? The way he's been managed, the Rogers Societies have to manage him, so he may drop out for somebody maybe against Aberdeen because he's played before. But again, that's why to put it full circle at the start of the show, that's why trusting scales are so important. But it is also a slight concern if there's any issues with the 3 in their availability, because the drop off to the Ross game Welsh is far too big at the moment. But as long as Trusty Scales and Carter Vickers, as you said as well, as long as some combination of Ethereum's playing, I'm pretty comfortable, we'll be fine.
I'm very, very comfortable. Brian, we've been on an hour. There's over 1,000 on live. Thank you very much. I never even mentioned the cheating at the women's game yesterday. I'll leave that to Paul tomorrow to bring up. Aye, hopefully we're all match fit for the next couple of weeks, because even the next month, when you actually read the fixture, Hearts away, Bruges at home, Ross County home, Aberdeen away, Hibs at home, Zagreb away, then Rangers in the League Cup final. That's a tasty 4 weeks, eh? And absolutely, I need to get on the protein shakes. On the protein shakes, get out for the run, be like Rocky running up the Philadelphia steps, because it's going to be mentally draining. But hey, that's what we're here for. That's what we're football.
There'll be a few meltdowns thrown in the middle, I'm sure.
Definitely. And I'm going to quote. No, I've had my meltdown. I've had my meltdown for the season. I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be calm and enjoy the joy that has been a Celtic fan, because that's all we can do. I'm going to, and nobody fall out with each other. I'm going to quote the guy from Kneecap last night when he says, "We're all just one big dysfunctional Fenian family." So everybody remember that, and dinna be bams to each other, and I'll see you on the other side. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.